Good to have you back with us. Thanks for watching The Ed Show. One of the biggest lies of this entire Republican convention was about one of President Obama's biggest success stories in the economy. Paul Ryan claims that the president failed to save one particular GM plant in Wisconsin.
Candidate Obama said, "I believe that if our government is there to support you, this plant will be here for another 100 years. That plant didn't last another year. It is locked up and empty to this day. The recovery that was promised is nowhere in sight."
All right, hold the phone here. Here's the problem. The Janesville, Wisconsin General Motors plant closed right before Christmas of 2008. General Motors laid off workers, shut down the assembly lines, and ended production almost a month before President Obama took office. So Paul Ryan is blaming President Obama for failing to save a plant that was already closed and on the way out. By the way, the Bush administration did not stop the Janesville shutdown either. Now, in this story, we need to pay attention to dates, okay? Let's go to June 3rd, 2008. White House spokesperson Dana Perino said, "It's a sign that Detroit continues to adopt and evolve and address the change in consumer tastes and attitudes, and I think that they're adopting well." That was 7 months before President Obama took the oath of office. The wheels were in motion. The wheels of bankruptcy were already in motion for the entire automobile industry, and there were no takers. General Motors had cut 71,000 jobs since 2008. General Motors had lost more than $54 billion since 2005. Now, on November 18th, just several months after that quote from Dana Perino, Mitt Romney wrote infamously in the Detroit Free Press, "Let Detroit go bankrupt. In other words, let them die." The engine, one of the biggest engines of the United States economy, was told to, you're on your own. Get out of here. The Republicans still can't decide what they want to this day. Ryan actually wanted the president to micromanage a plant that closed before he took office. At the same time, Romney and other Republicans wanted to liquidate the entire industry.
It could have come back more effectively and sooner had they taken the advice of Mitt Romney early on.
Republicans made a serious mistake, hoping to gain points by trashing the automobile industry loan floated by the government. A nonpartisan industry watchdog put out these figures over the last year. Look at the job growth from July of 2009 to the end of 2010. Automakers added jobs despite the recession. And according to the New York Times, 1.5 million people who are working as a direct result of the automobile loan. In fact, General Motors announced now that it's investing $220 million to expand in Lordstown, Ohio. Today, Vice President Joe Biden told those workers the loan has been an investment in America.
What they didn't tell you, it's not the Bain way. Not in Mexico, not in China, not in Vietnam, but in Lordstown, Detroit, Toledo, Cleveland. Made in America. Made in America.
Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan did not mention the automobile loan today. They left that for the convention. But the Democrats say its success is going to be playing a big role in their convention next week. It's the blame game that's going on. Joining us now from the UAW Local 95 Hall are two men who worked at the Janesville, Wisconsin plant, Brad Dutcher and Ron McEnroy. Gentlemen, good to have you with us. Both are with the Region 4 United Auto Workers. Gentlemen, good to have you with us. Brad, you first. Was Paul Ryan lying when he blamed President Obama for your plant's closure?
Absolutely. Absolutely. President Obama had, then Senator Obama, had nothing to do with the decision to close our factory. That was an outright lie.
Did Paul Ryan fail to help you at all, Ron? What about that?
Yeah, and let me correct you first, Ed. I really didn't work at the plant, but I am the director of the region in which the plant is located. So I just want to correct that a little bit. But what I will tell you is where we really believe that Paul Ryan lied and where he failed at is his inconsistencies. Early on, if you look, he voted for stimulus package in the early 2000s. And at that time, that was under George Bush, which, again, was a party line vote. If you look later on in 2008, just like you said earlier, it's really about the timeline and how things happened. when this plant closed in 2008, George Bush was still in office, and their party line politics were in effect at that time. When Barack Obama was elected, and in 2009, the plant had already closed. But what's really important here is, once the plant had closed, where we needed Mr. Ryan to step up was simply when people needed TA grants to retool, re-educate themselves to get back into other jobs. He failed to do that. He did not want to reach out and do those grants. As far as where he's inconsistent on the unemployment, again, early on in the 2000s, he was all for extending unemployment. But in 2009, when these workers here really needed that, when their plant was closed, he again failed to do that. That's the inconsistencies.
That's right. Yeah. All right, Brad, I want to ask you, are you under the impression, and do you think that President Obama left the impression that if he were elected president, that Janesville plant was going to remain open?
Absolutely not. I was in that meeting when President Obama spoke inside of our plant. There was never a promise made by then Senator Obama to keep our plant open. Absolutely not. That was completely false. And again, I agree with Ron.
Go ahead, Ron. Go ahead, Ron.
And I just want to.
Yeah, go ahead. I didn't hear the question, Ed.
Yeah. But I agree.
I mean,
where Congressman Ryan really failed us is when these employees needed it the most. And to pull a stunt that he did, at the Republican National Convention, and use the closing of this plant, and to disgrace the plight of these workers when, even today, 4 years after the closing of the plant, we still have families that are separated. We have moms and dads that drive 4 or 5 states away to come home on the weekends and see their families. And to use that and to turn this plant closing into a political football is shameful, and he ought to be ashamed of himself. We all ought to be ashamed of him.
All right, Brad and Ron, I got to ask you, all those people that are behind you there tonight, are they all Obama supporters? Do you think that they are still Obama supporters despite the fact that the plant was shut down?
Absolutely. This entire room is full of Obama supporters. And when our congressman made the remark that the auto loans, nobody in Wisconsin benefited from those auto loans, it's absolutely false. I have a lot of retirees sitting behind me that still collect a pension that they've earned over the years because of those auto loans. Brad
Dutcher and Rob McEnroy, I appreciate your time tonight on the Ed Show. We thought there's been so much talk about fact checkers in the media. We thought the best fact checkers would be the people who actually were given notice that they were losing their jobs, and going to Janesville was the best thing to do. Gentlemen, thanks for joining us tonight. Coming up.